Report 1. My friend left. Trigger warning. My best friend left at this very moment. My best friend left because he was going through psychological problems related to his family, specifically his wife and children. He is not a bad person, but because he dedicated his life to business, he spent a lot of time away from home. I will explain. He started a business focused on nightlife entertainment, owned 2 liquor stores, and managed a barbershop. All of this required a great deal of time and dedication from him. However, his wife, who worked as a nurse and had 12-hour shifts, did not understand why he had so little time to spend with her. It was a very demanding journey for him to reach this point. Up to that moment, he had already faced many difficult situations. He managed 2 liquor stores, which he and his brother were responsible for running. He also had to take care of his mother and his brother, who has a disability. In addition to that, he was responsible for 65% of his family's finances. His wife did not understand that he was dealing with all of these things, and because they had 2 children, in her mind, he should no longer focus on his businesses because the situation was overwhelming her. Eventually, this situation escalated in a very serious way. His wife started calling him worthless every single day, constantly insulting him, and unfortunately, there was even a situation where she stabbed him. She told him to leave countless times, and today, he finally did. He left without taking any clothes, without giving any warning, with only some money in his pocket. He made the decision to leave because the extreme pressure was making him sick. Report 2. I have no social life and I don't know how to change that. Vent. I am turning 20 years old in a few days, and one thing that haunts me every day is the feeling that I am not making the most of my youth. I have felt this way since I was 17, mainly because of my lack of friends and my difficulty in forming bonds with other people my age. Because of this, I rarely go out. I have never gone on a night out or anything like that, and I do not go to parties because I have tried before, and going out alone feels terrible. Another factor that makes things worse is that I moved to a new city, and after living here for 6 months, I have not made a single friend. My routine consists of going to work and then staying at home on the weekends. The only times I go out are to buy something or get food, and even that is rare. At work, I interact normally with my colleagues and have no trouble talking to them, but I do not see them as more than just co-workers, and they feel the same way about me. I have gotten used to this lifestyle, but I can't stop thinking that something is not right. My life is a constant cycle of being a homebody who dislikes crowds while also fearing that I will grow old without having truly lived. Report 3. A traumatic relationship with my father destroyed my adult life. Family. That is basically it. My parents always had a troubled relationship. When I was 8 years old, my father left and disappeared from our lives. Growing up as the child of a single mother was not easy, but in the end, I think everything turned out fine. When I was 24 years old, he came back and said he needed my help on a work trip. I thought it was the perfect opportunity to rebuild our emotional bond, but during the trip, he confessed to me that we had been apart for too long and that we should now go our separate ways because he had already started a new family. Those words shattered my heart. After the trip, I tried to move on with my life, but depression was inevitable. Today, I am 31 years old, a production manager, married, and expecting my first child. Despite having achieved relative success in my career, which allows me to help my mother and some other family members, I feel like an empty shell inside. I study a lot and try to handle my emotions intelligently, but lately the pain has been winning. Over the past year, I have fallen ill 3 times, and my health is in poor condition. My father still keeps in touch with some family members and is now trying to reconnect with me. I refuse. I do not give him any space. I have already forgiven myself and him as well. I just want to leave my past in the past. But these old demons seem to keep coming back to haunt me. What should I do in this situation? I cannot take living like this anymore. I feel like I have lost control of my own life.
Report 4. I'm worried about my friend. She doesn't think she's good enough. Vent. I am a level 1 autistic, have ADHD and dyslexia, and she has ADHD and dyslexia too, so the school provided us both with support in the special education room. Through this, we became friends. We talked about our difficulties, how they affected our daily lives, our relationships, and our self-esteem. In short, we deeply understood each other. I love her so much, and she has no idea how much I admire her and how much I want to be like her. She is beautiful, feminine, polite, serene, funny. She looks like a princess. The way she carries herself, the way she walks, the way she talks, everything about her is admirable. I once mentioned her in a comment, and someone replied saying that the way I talked about her sounded like I was in love, lol. So, in my mind, she is the closest a human being can get to perfection. That's why I'm so surprised that she doesn't realize how special she is. She recently confided in me, and I cried an entire ocean for her. Like, how can such an amazing person think this about herself? She sees herself as unbearable, inconvenient, and believes she will never achieve anything in life because of her ADHD and dyslexia. She watches all our classmates stepping into adulthood, getting their driver's licenses, taking exams, dating, achieving things, and she says she feels incapable of succeeding like they do. She is insecure, doesn't know where to start, doesn't know how to take the first step. She thinks she's very immature, and okay, sometimes she can be a bit childish, but that doesn't mean she's not mature. She doesn't find herself attractive. She literally told me that she can't imagine a man ever looking at her with admiration in his eyes. And that breaks my heart, because she is one of the most incredible people I've ever met. Seeing her constantly self-sabotaging devastates me. She doesn't deserve to think this way about herself. Now, what do I believe is the root of the problem? Well, first of all, she was diagnosed pretty late, at 11 years old back in 2018. That might sound like a long time ago, but trust me when I say this made things even harder for her. I was diagnosed before I was 10, and I still struggle to accept and deal with my limitations. So imagine her situation. Another issue is that she never continued with professional guidance. Her mom was very humble back then and didn't understand much about these things. When she got her daughter's diagnosis, she thought she didn't need to take her to therapy anymore. After all, she could just hand the diagnosis to the school, and they would take care of things. So not only was my friend diagnosed late, but she also never received the proper guidance on how to handle her limitations or accept that she had difficulties. Up until recently, she was still studying as if she were a normal person. Not that she's not normal, but you get what I mean. Our way of learning is totally different and needs to be adapted. It's not just about reading and rereading something over and over again until it sticks. That's not how it works. With therapy, we don't just learn to accept ourselves. We also learn how our brains function. I learned my own study methods. I know how to study alone and absorb what I can without overwhelming my brain. But she doesn't. She thought that if she just studied like everyone else but twice as hard, she would succeed. And even after realizing that it wasn't working, she kept doing it anyway. Why? Because she simply doesn't know how else to study, how to learn in a way that her brain actually understands. Another thing, I think she might be on the autism spectrum. I don't know how to bring this up to her because, until recently, she wouldn't even accept that she had ADHD. But honestly, I've never seen someone with ADHD rely so much on routine like she does. She feels lost when her routine changes or when something unplanned happens. She has an immense depth of knowledge about her hyper-focused topics, whether it's art, cooking, or even Star Wars. She also has hypersensitivity to sound. When there's too much noise and too much happening at once, I observe her. She furrows her brows, holds back from covering her ears, and rolls her eyes as if she's trying to endure it. It's so clear that she's extremely uncomfortable. Not even I, with an autism diagnosis, react like that. I do have noise-canceling headphones, but I barely use them. So I feel like there's still something else going on with her. And she compares herself to others a lot, which I don't blame her for. Her whole life, people assumed she was just a badly behaved girl and constantly compared her to other kids. Not her family, though. Her family is lovely. But because of that, she ended up developing this habit of always comparing herself. I already suggested that she go back to therapy, but as I mentioned before, she doesn't know how to take the first step. A few months ago, she had a Reddit account, but she deleted it because she was trying to get rid of all apps that distracted her. I saw her posts about this subject and they helped me understand what she's feeling, so I'm trying to figure out how I can support her. Reading her posts, where she belittles herself so much and feels like a failure, reminded me of how I used to feel, and if I learn to cope with it better, then so can she. I'm sure that years from now, all of these worries about the future will seem silly. We'll look back and laugh, saying, "Oh, Glenda, remember when you had barely turned 18 and thought you had to achieve everything right away, or else you'd be a failure?" LOL, what nonsense, right? Life had barely even started. But for now, it's just a massive headache. I hope this feeling passes soon.